Hello, Planeswalkers. Andrew here, joined by a guest, Matt. Yeah, we're the topic for today's podcast episode is interaction in EDH, and this is being recorded around the time of Sheldon from the Rules Committee's article about interaction, which I failed to see before this, so I'm not 100% caught up, but I have been thinking a lot about interaction for this video.
I feel like everyone that's playing at everyone that's gearing up to play again at a highly social level is I think seriously considering Rule Zero conversations. Like 2 years ago, I don't think I would have ever even heard of that type of open conversation or dialogue, and now there's not a day that the drama's not about that in some fashion.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of in the boat that a game doesn't necessarily need a ton of interaction to be fun. I don't know. Wish I had like a summary of that article.
Well, I mean, I took a fair bit of notes, and I can kind of just trundle along with a couple of the bullet points because I feel like if anyone has anything to say that's counter to what I interpreted, then we're gonna get a lot of answers, no doubt, real fast. People love to correct.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Um,
So what do we got?
well, the first thing that he seemed to address is that uh, we're looking at format decay, where people in other formats are finding out that when play is more fun in Commander and play in the more competitive and Eternal formats is less, I guess, engaging, everyone has the tendency to flock to Commander. It's kind of a safe space for people to actually have fun no matter what. But the trade-off is if we're getting format decay, then we have mindset migration, where people who aren't necessarily attuned to the kind of get weird, have fun style of play are about optimization, homogenization, um, which makes some Rule Zero conversations non-negotiable. You get people who roll up who are like, no, it has to be a turn four win, or people who are like, I don't mind a 20-turn game amongst friends.
Oh, yeah, I get that. I guess that kind of also ties into like deck power levels and making sure that decks are kind of at the same level, which is I've always found the power level system to be kind of unintuitive. I don't know. Like I like the idea of how long do you want the game to go as a question before playing a game a lot more than what power level is your deck. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
how fast does your deck win? And I really like this might be going a little bit off topic, but I like cards that not necessarily help. Well, I guess they do help everyone. It's cards like Howling Mine and Font of Mythos because it helps everyone rather than just the one player. Or I prefer redirection spells to counter spells lately. Just in the
I like that.
just in the what's the word? The effort to make it more fun for everyone instead of just I need to win.
Right, right. I feel like you tapped into something that Sheldon even talks about later, where he pretty much instantiates it that the general design practices for Commander seem to be around a temperate zone of critical play that's around turn 7, turn 8. Every deck, regardless of function and utility, should be able to achieve some sort of win con, board state, kill state, what have you, around that time period. And the problem with the accelerating card base is that even the most basic commons that will provide mana fixing are shrinking that window where 100 card, game going past turn 7, turn 8 makes a lot of sense. But it's actually shrinking, and we're getting to card games that are comparable, like Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball Super, or Versus System, where it's like, oh, are we on turn 6? That's much too late.
Yeah, and I kind of don't like that because I do like the longer games. I have more fun with that. Like, most of my decks aren't built to go off in just a couple turns. They're meant to have a little bit of a slower build up and do more things. And that's really what it comes down to me is how much do you get to do and how much does everyone else get to do. So I kind of like the idea of a longer game of Commander.
I'm in the same boat as you. I mean, I play almost exclusively heads up commander with a large number of like if we were going to make any power level considerations, like level 1, level 2 decks. I slapped these things together because I've just been collecting since 98, 99, and it's not a substantial body of like really ridiculous, powerful Eternal things.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, I know that I'm playing against one or two people who are running only one of two decks, Thrasus and Hymna, or Scion of the Ur-Dragon, which means I'm pretty much going to be playing games that are almost always attuned to, oh, it's turn 6, you ready to die? And I like that. It always helps modulate and kind of shapes the decks as I understand what is a particularly aggressive style of play versus what could be more fun. I love that you brought up redirection because that's just that is actual hilarity when you can do things at a speed that and with an intention that people were not expecting. I really like that when a kind of serendipitous reevaluation changes the entire board state because someone was like, I have a win con, they use it, and then you're like, but it's only going to affect that person.
Yeah, I love that. Running like deflecting SWAT or bolt bend, wild ricochet, Narset's reversal, and I've just had a lot more fun with those instead of, hey, that spell doesn't resolve. It's, oh, that spell's mine now and I get to choose where it goes.
Wild Ricochet, I'm so glad you brought that up. I have so many copies of that because everyone's like, wait a minute, 2 extra mana just to get a copy? But oh my god, when it goes off, when it happens, you pretty much can sweet spot multiple players either out of the game or come back from death because it's just. I'm trying to make a 5-color Giants deck, and that's definitely going in there for sure.
Oh yeah, it has a giant in the artwork, doesn't it?
Exactly, yeah. It's just a big old giant, like, oh, thank you, and here's some extra.
I love it. I love it so much. But yeah, that also can extend the length. Well, I guess countering a spell extends the length of the game, but you know, it's like the spell still happens, stuff still happens. And I guess
Yeah.
Would you call that more interaction than countering a spell?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Unless someone is running any particular deck that synergizes off of casting and copying spells, I see the introduction to include very personal decisions is really great. I mean, a counterspell is particularly either I don't like that strategy or I don't like you. That it almost always reads as that. And I feel like redirection gets to be way more wacky because I mean, I play Magic for a number of reasons, but one of my favorite reasons to talk about is it's a safe space to be ugly. Like you get to be pernicious, petty, or insufferable, however you want, as long as you're not really using your ego to influence people. And I love the petty plays where it's like, oh, you thought that you were gonna kill me like that, like I was a little fly. How about no? And it's just it not only improves the interactivity of the actual mathematical evaluations, but it improves the emotional like side of the game where it's like all of a sudden someone gets to play with another person's emotions, which let's face it, it is a very frequently unspoken and favorite part of this game.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun, and I love just the mindset of this. This is a game that everyone should enjoy, not just the winner. So maybe I'll hold back a card that can do a lot right now, but maybe it's more fun to wait, or something like that. I still remember one of my favorite games I've played, and I'm sure I've talked about this before. It was with Tyler, a one-on-one Commander game, where he gave me Demonic Pact with only 2 modes left, one of them being lose the game. And he refused to attack me, which would have killed me. He wanted to beat me with Demonic Pact, so he gave me a turn. And in that turn, I built like 100 power with Avenger of Zendikar.
Oh, oh my!
And ended up beating him because of his hubris. And that is a much better story than, oh yeah, he passed me Demonic Pact, but then attacked me and beat me. It's a lot more fun and more interesting, I feel.
100%. What Sheldon links in the video is his the design philosophy for Commander, which for me, my only notes for it in caps lock is it's for fun. It's literally this is a sub format of a widely professional competitive game that is actually about inconsistent, if redundantly creative strategies. And it's really funny to see what I like to call it, are you a gamer or are you a player kind of dichotomy. A lot of people play games, but they're not playing game. That is to say they're having fun. They're gaming within a subset of play, if that makes any sense. Like a gamer is going to have a function of play versus a player who's going to have a function of game. And Commander's for fun. So certain types of competitive mindsets are going to clash with the idea of the creativity.
Yeah, for sure. And I've had, I think I might have talked about it in the last podcast episode I did, but like how Commander is has gained a lot of popularity over the years and is I think still the most popular format. Is that a safe
Oh
thing to
yeah,
say?
Modern Horizons 2 price tags clearly show that. Yeah.
But I feel like that's more of just a result of a higher percentage of people who play Magic are casual. So of course the casual format would be the most popular. But there's still fans of modern and such. And I mean, if someone wants to play competitive Magic, if they have a pod of people who also want to play competitive, and that's fun for them, that's great. Because it's still a format about having fun.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like if I were to be someone who I think almost we're at a point where casual is a misnomer in terms of the right term. I think we're actually getting to a point where the idea of Commander is very clearly social. It's not casual because people do some absolutely ridiculous things with the game, but there is an actual social element. I mean, Rule Zero literally exists for this entire, subformat because a conversation is more important than the gameplay in many people's minds. And versus like if I was someone who needed to grind and get my gamer on, I wouldn't play paper anymore. I don't think that they've optimized their online formats, but oh my god, I think if I needed to crunch the numbers and get a feel for competitive play at a rote level, just grinding away, I would just sign in online and I would never play paper again.
Oh yeah, especially with like standard or any rotating for. I guess that's the only rotating format. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it like modern is expensive. I've heard
Mm.
like having like 4 copies of a card can get really expensive. Where am I going with that? I don't know. Um,
Let's see. They do kind of talk. I mean, again, I hate. I'm sorry to over rely on Sheldon's piece for content, but it does seem to hit a lot of nails that we could talk about with non-interaction.
oh, for
And
sure.
well, the thing that is kind of the precursor to what you just mentioned with uh, his fourth point is that the reserved list markets are very volatile and have an incredibly asymmetric impact on all formats, namely being the pricing war. There's almost a class warfare on who can afford what, and that's the reserved list and its impact on different formats. Um, but before that, he does talk about what I think is great, and I think everyone has experienced. It's excessive ramp. Ramp play, it correlates to a drastic reduction in play diversity, and I think everyone can agree, and that is a crazy statement, but I think everyone can agree that excessive ramp is extremely overgracious to green and blue in that it turns a strategy into a privilege.
Yeah, that's true. And how like white only has like catch-up cards, and green gets pretty much all the ramp. If you want any decent ramp in most colors, you're going with like colorless cards like Wayfarer's Bauble or something like that.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and yeah, it's definitely green just gets a lot of good stuff just for being green.
I mean, the core design mechanic for me, and it was the first color that I learned to play. For me, the stages of the game was, ooh, beautiful art. I don't know what I'm doing, and then I made a green deck, and I was like, okay, I kind of know what I'm doing. And then I was shown red deck wins, and I was like, now I know what I'm doing. Um, but but with green, there was only one strategy, and that was get your resources. Get the resources, and the most basic resources imaginable. Non-spell cards that just sit there. And it's tough that when that like no activity eschews the saying master the fundamentals, get the fundamentals, and green's biggest fundamental is the core component of the entire game, get land.
Yep, that's true. Because if you get mana screwed, You just don't get to play the game. And if you get mana flooded, you still don't get to play the game. So being able to just be like, oh, I need lands, I'll just go get them, is really strong. And it just gives green an edge over the other colors.
Let alone that it was like, what, the first color to basically get landfall on landfall on landfall, when it's like, maybe that should have been distributed better before we gave the only thing that makes the most landfall.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in regards to to ramp, I would be fine with even just some more colorless ramp cards that are maybe not as cheap as green ramp, like 3 or 4 mana, but still more ramp for the other colors. And then yeah, more landfall would be cool. But there's still some neat landfall cards in other colors. I think is Felidar Retreat's landfall, right?
Oh yeah, I think all of any retreat is going to have the fall. So yeah, there's 2 cycles of retreats that have decent landfall effects. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I like Felidar Retreat. And
I think
yeah.
Yeah, it's I feel like the he in the article he goes down the list of like what can be done to increase diversity, increase the opportunity for everyone to have fun. And when it comes down to excessive ramp, that is pretty much addressed with the idea of Rule Zero. And for me, the way that I've kind of been designing around it is that no matter what the deck is, and obviously the more colors, it's easier. I've actually been building most of my commanders to be one of lands as well. So that has made a lot of the design decisions for, I run this many basics, to be like, I don't need to make that decision. I'm running 5 basics, 5 snow basics, and then I gotta find a whole bunch of other land.
Oh yeah, a whole bunch of like dual lands.
Oh yeah.
Or like guild gates or something.
Yeah, you know it. Yeah, because for me what happened, and I kind of almost consider it a bit of deck building penance, where when I found out about Commander, I went nuts, deconstructed all my Eternal format decks, and I, of course, went on all my pets, all the pet tribes, and Eldrazi's one of them. And so I made Ulamog, except I didn't know the restrictions about color identity, so I made a 5-color, illegal as all sin Ulamog deck, and I just played against my pod for, like, all the time. And
that's
basically
fine. Like, if the people you're playing with are cool with it, and that's what I love about Rule Zero, because I can come up to a pod and be like, hey, can I run this partner deck with Omnath, Locust of the Royal, and Yarok? And it's like, sure.
Oh my god, yeah, go for it, yeah.
It's like, that's evil, but I like it.
I want to see evil. That's what I love about this game. Sometimes people, and that's one of the things that I will always kind of. There are certain things that I will admit loving, even though it is extremely bad taste. And I do love the idea of a pub stomper, because that type of person is breaking all sorts of social graces in order to be that guy, and or that girl, them, whatever you want to call them. They want to be that one, and I love it because, hey, if that's the way that you want to play, go for it. But you're not going to have a lot of the same conversations after you do it the first time.
Oh yeah, it really comes down to if the people you're playing with are okay with it. And maybe your pod is cool with one player being an archenemy. It's like, oh, we got to deal with that guy before we can fight each other.
Those are really fun. I love it because there comes the little badge of honor of being able to recognize, oh, you had to play the player, not the deck this time, so you got rid of me. Yeah, I mean, everyone can give themselves a pat on the back if they're the first person eliminated.
Yeah, it's like you were the biggest threat, so I got to get you out of the way first. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't feel great when the games are particularly really fun after you're gone, but yeah.
I've had a couple of games on like Spell Table where I'm knocked out and then the game goes on for like another hour. It's like, well, go get some food, I guess. Come back out, you're still playing.
Oh yeah, before the pandemic, I tried to bring a 800 card box of just like any of the commanders that I was just brewing, because if I got knocked out like that, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna open this box and just cut a bunch of chaff because I got the time.
Just start deck building.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Of course.
That is such a pastime for me. I have an app called Manabox that is just a really good deck builder. So whenever I'm bored, I'll just start brewing a deck.
Yeah, I don't know if I can. I have a very big disconnect between digital to the card stock, and I definitely know that I've futzed around in the world of the card makers and the the apps or in browser for mocks and stuff like that. But there's just something about the kind of ritualization that I've made of this that I love actually having the decks.
Oh yeah, and I get that. I mainly do it on digital because I may not have most of the cards, and that way I can build it and be happy with it before I go buying the cards. But yeah, I get that. Having the cards in front of you can make a big difference. Definitely feels different.
I mean, I come from the practice of getting the magic cards was more of the event of getting the randomization in the packs more so than the fomented strategies. So I basically, with the exception of certain pet decks, I only buy booster packs or occasionally split on booster boxes. And then I never really can go. I mean, my general rule of thumb is if the card's more than $10, never get the single. Uh, and I think I've held true to that. I think.
Yeah, and that's definitely a valid way to play the game, because that comes with its own fun of, let me brew jank out of what I've got. And,
Yeah, exactly. The jank.
And even at lower power levels, if everyone's at that level, it can be just as fun, and it's great. Kind of thinking recently of like what's the word, like pillow 40 decks, and how they just kind of want to sit there and not be bothered. How fun those are to play against. I haven't really faced them all that often.
Yeah, same. Pillow 40 decks are funny because I mean the closest I've got would be either Niv Mizzet Reborn Super Friends, where it's not even Pillow Fort, it's just there's so much stuff going on with loyalty stuff that people just go, okay, what's going on? Do you win or not? And that's its own type of attrition, Pillow Fort, where people just don't want to hear you read every ability off again. But then there's like another type. I feel like I had an Eternal deck that in 2007 or 2008 it ran a card Chronomantic Escape, which for 6 you cast it, or for 3 you suspend it for 3 turns, and it reads until your next turn, creatures can attack you, and then it gets suspended for another 3 turns. So if you have 3 of them going off in cycle, you can never be attacked. And
That's
I had a met. Yeah, it was an Eternal deck. I had ran it at 75 cards and with Magus of the Moat and all the wonderful mono white, snow white fun. And it was great because it was truly an aggravating experience for almost everyone except combo decks and me. And this was at a time when most of the decks in the pod were heavy tribal aggro or tribal tempo, which made non-attacking the end of the game.
Oh yeah, because that's their only win con, is beat you over the head, and when they can't even touch you, then you pretty much win. My favorite way to win that I recently read about, I forget who it was someone on Twitter that basically exiled another player by taking control of them and having them activate there's some permanent where you can destroy it if you pay to skip your next turn. But in response to itself, he had him activate it like a million times, so he just skipped a million turns.
Lethal Vapors, yeah. Pay zero, do some stuff, but skip your next turn, and then in response to that trigger, keep going, baby, 0, 0, 0, 0. Yeah, I've seen that tech in a couple of, usually like some really greedy mono black stuff, but
it's so funny.
That's really funny.
I could not possibly be mad if I lost to that, because it's so funny and so niche. You rarely see it.
Yeah, it's the rare effects where you're just like, wow, I can't even be mad, and I don't know what I was expecting.
I love those moments in this format where it's just out of nowhere someone just goes off with a combo you've never even heard of, and they just win somehow.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, that's really cool, dude.
that is. I mean, I know a lot of people. There are certain pet peeves that I notice when people play that irk me. Like when I see their pet peeve, certain types of people will actually get like a little peevish if someone's reading a card or reading every card because they haven't experienced it. Because it does take a lot of time. Reading comprehension is 80% of this game, and I feel like that there are wonderful times when someone who's a clear veteran of the game really truly reads the cards for some little harebrained scheme they came up with, and they realize, wait, this is way better than I ever thought it was, and I just won the game, guys. I love those moments of discovery because it's very much, even if it's non-interactive in terms of the deck's strategy. Watching someone come to terms with what they have that's available to them is its own type of like great little shared learning experience.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's happened to me a couple times. There's Sage of the Falls that when it enters or when another non-human creature enters, you draw a card and discard one. And I had Impact Tremors and the Locust God out, and I played
Oh,
Sage of the Falls, and I just had it in the deck.
oh my
I
god.
didn't think about what it did, and as I played it, I read its effect and I was like, "Hang on, that does not say non-token,
It says non-human.
non-human." It enters, I draw, make a locust. Impact Tremors goes off. I do it again. I read that and went over it in my mind and was like, "Oh, I play Sage of the Falls, I win." And everyone
Straight
else is
up.
like, "Hold on."
That's a great. That's just like the Sage of the Falls just sits in the chair, pulls the chain, just covered in water. Game over. Like that's hilarious.
Like
That's
no,
actually. Oh my god.
not even the caster realizes it until it hits the field. It's like, whoa.
And you can't get that with every type of interactive or non-interactive deck. These kind of aha moments. Um, and I mean, right now the only types of non-interactive decks that I'm familiar with would be Wheels and Labman. I've only played against one person who ran Nekasar Wheels, which is just kind of like a duh. And Labman Tech, I see all sorts of different versions of it, but I like both of them because I after the first time it happens, you just kind of know what you're racing against. Someone who has put 20% of their deck aside to counter you, basically. Everything else is pretty cut and dry.
Yeah. I play I have a Golos deck that has a win con that is, once you've seen it once, you know it's coming, at least from my Golos build. It's Maze's End, where I just keep blinking Golos and fetching Guild Gates, and then fetching Maze's End, and winning that way. And as soon as I grab the first gate, anyone who's playing against the deck for the first time is like, "Hold on, wait, stop."
Don't do it.
I
What's
keep-
what's Maze's End do?
Maze's End is I believe you pay one and tap it, and you search up a guild gate, or a gate card, and put it on the field tapped. And I want to say then it checks to see if you have 10 or more gates, and if you do, you win the game.
My
Let me
God.
look it up to make sure. Maze's
So
End.
basically, get a Vesuva and then you're set.
Oh,
Oh man.
it's 3 tap, return it to your hand. That's it. And then you search up a gate, and then it checks, do you have 10 or more gates? If you do, you win the game. So it's slow, but I run like a dozen blink spells and a bunch of spells that just say, "Hey, you gotta pay to attack me. Just stay away."
Yeah. Yeah, don't do it.
But if you get past those enchantments, it's just a sitting duck because Golos is like the only defender I have.
Right, because you're just grabbing the land. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so if
Huh.
you get past that little defense of enchantments, it's easy to beat. Or if you just like exile Maze's End, then it just dies. But
Can be, yeah.
the
Oof.
1 out of 10 games where I get it, it's so hype.
I mean, having 10 gates alone, like I remember playing that format with the different types. So there's an 8/8 guy that can't be blocked by power 2 or less. There were so many different really hilariously powerful gate cards that didn't make sense for any major commander I had at the time. Golos sounds like a really Golos gets a lot of grief, I guess, but I would love to make a Golos deck. If I get my hands on one, I don't even know what I would do.
Oh yeah. He is a lightning rod for removal. Because of his reputation. So he's pretty hard to get to stick around, but he's pretty good. I have a lot of fun with him.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of I love five color. Five color might be my favorite brew challenge, just because it's like, what do you prioritize for redundancy? What is the actual win con? So many of my five color decks get creep, but not like win con creep. It's just like, this would be great. This would be great. And then you're like, I have no win cons. What the fuck did I just do?
Yeah, that I have a Niv Mizzet Reborn deck that's just basically two color good stuffs. Just all my favorite two color cards put in the deck. What's the win con? I don't know. Play a bunch of stuff, I guess.
Have cards in hand and play my commander a lot.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun. And
Yeah, I feel like
even that can
yeah.
be fun when you don't. Sorry to cut you off, but
Hmm.
even that's fun when you just don't have a clear win con, but you do a lot of wacky stuff. Because it's not impossible to win, because you have a bunch of creatures, but you don't have like a I win the game kind of play.
Yeah, yeah, that is the majority of my commander decks. Honestly, I think you said something about very early that the in the fashion that you lost to Mr. Brushwag is that the story was better, that he lost because he made sure that you had that enchantment, and then you were like, no, 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 this is 100 power hitting you,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's that story is so good that I very frequently will design around art or flavor text first, and then as time moves on, I realize the commander's flavor is nice, but the commander themselves usually needs to be doing the actual work. And it's been a real great learning experience. As soon as I discovered that what Elder Dragon Highlander truly was in 2016, it's basically been finding ways to make really inconsistent ideas more creatively consistent, but not necessarily just trying to destroy everyone. Because, yikes.
Yeah, I love trying to make jank commanders work. Like I've done it a couple times where I've just tweeted out, "Hey, give me like a mechanic or a commander that's obscure, and I'll try to build it." Um, I've done it's not commander, but I've done Oathbreaker. Oops, all creatures was one of my favorite
Oh.
builds. That's just so jank. It's basically you mull until you hit Triad Arbor, and if you don't, you just don't play the game. But
Oh,
you gotta hit Dryad Arbor, and then you gotta play a Mana Dork, and then you can play the game finally. But just jank is real fun.
I know. So it's wow. That's like four. Hmm. So does land that can turn into creatures count, or does it have to be for Dryad Arbor?
It's an Oathbreaker deck, so it's still singleton. So there's only one Dryad
Oh yeah,
Arbor.
that's right. Oh
Um,
my god.
I do have another deck that's its only creatures are lands that can turn into creatures. Where there it is. The land is alive. I'm how many lands do I run? I run 70 lands. the com-
That'll do it.
and the
Wow.
commander's Gigantha. And yeah, it's just all the lands that can be paid into to turn into creatures. Which that was a pretty fun deck to build around as well.
Yeah, yeah, Gigant is just amazing. I went through so many Ikoria boxes with my pod because they are Godzilla obsessed. And out of what, two collector's boxes and four booster boxes, we only got one Gigantha. And I was very happy for that one because it now basically I can just put her in anything. It doesn't matter. They're there. Like they do the job.
Yep, big old mana dork. Yeah, I have a lot of fun with a lot of different kinds of decks. Just jank and sometimes building optimally, sometimes not. I like a variety of playstyle.
Yeah, I feel like variety is the spice of life, which is why it's been really funny to see so much. I don't want to say vitriol, but there are people that or most conversations because you can't really just lump people together, but the conversations are very frequently becoming polarized to become accusatory. A lot more accusatory conversation than complimentary, I guess, conversation where people understand the value of working off of energy that's not like their own. Like I said it before, I I think that maybe calling it a social format as opposed to a casual format might make more sense because at the end of the day, I know that a winner wants to be there and I know that people don't want to be losers, but we all walk in there equally thinking that we can be winners and losers. But some people walk in there going, I don't care if I lose. And that's the sentiment that I approve of and appreciate the most. But I
Yeah.
also love making sure that someone's in there that like, oh, I have a violent ultimatum, and I'm using all three targets on you because you're the threat. And I like that play too because it stirs the pot, and as long as everyone can be a pod together, I don't mind it.
Yeah, as long as everyone has fun, and I like I like how you're calling it a social format because it can be competitive and people can enjoy that, and that can be how people play. And in those instances, it's not casual, but it is still social. It is still four player. Like, you're gonna have three losers at the end of the day. Do you really want three people that feel like crap because they played the game? Or three people that lost but still had fun losing? And I feel like that's the goal that people should aim for in this format.
Yeah, yeah, it's a pretty low bar, honestly, but it's also everyone is coming from such a different. I mean, we all are interpreting this game as a different type of thing. I mean, it's not even a game for some people. It's just a type of play or even a an activity. I mean, personally, for me, if I were to say what I do in terms of Magic as a whole, as a meta type of activity or a hobby, I would say I brew like 90% of the time. I'm constantly sorting and building decks. I very rarely get to play the game anymore. Tops, I'm probably playing once every 2 weeks at this point, and that's been since I got vaccinated, which has been like 2 months. So, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I feel that. Brewing is a fun activity just on its own. That's a whole activity in my opinion. Just deck
Yeah. Oh,
building.
yeah.
But yeah, should probably start wrapping up here. I think we covered a lot of ground. It was pretty varied, more varied than just interaction like it originally was going to be, and I kind of like all the topics that we covered. Just
Yeah,
covered a
you'll
lot.
pardon me. Sorry to cut you off.
You're
Yeah,
fine.
I am very discursive. I have the tendency to love a good walk through a conversation that can go anywhere. So, I mean, I'm the type of guest that's going to talk about all sorts of weird, kind of left corner things.
Oh yeah, and I respect that. It's fun. It's more dynamic, and I like it.
I mean, I'm very thankful for you reaching out because this is the first time I've done something like this, and love to kind of branch out and integrate a little bit more with the community because it's been basically a pot of three people and myself, and I think that getting to know the likes of you, and I know that a couple others, at least Tyler and I, have a fair bit of joshing online, so getting in touch with y'all is going to be, I feel like, a really cool post-pandemic activity.
For sure, it was fun talking with you, and it's fun finally meeting you, voice to voice, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, getting to meet the voice behind the tweets.
I'll have to have you on Commander Coliseum sometime. We maybe when I record next month.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah, just I mean Mondays, Tuesdays right now are the days that I have completely off, no, all flex. And then any days after 6 p.m. Central Standard, I'm game.
Cool. Yeah, we'll definitely shoot for that then, sometime in July.
Awesome. Well, Andrew, thank you for taking the time. I will hope there's some good editable material in there, and I'm sure we'll commiserate soon.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you all so much for watching. You can find links to Matt's socials in the comments below. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. Y'all have a great day.